Hello and welcome. Hi.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Okay, so it's December already, and now I hear your echo, Edita. Cool. Okay, so it's December, and it's the 15th of December, Tuesday, so we have our last ACM Teams Europe user group meeting of this year. But don't worry, we will come back next year as well. And today it's all about Teams adoption in small business customers. So businesses that are small or medium-sized. And we are interested in how does Teams user adoption compare to compare between, is it different in small businesses than large organizations? And we have first a short presentation or introduction to the theme by Alexander. Cool. Yay, Alex. And then we have a super awesome, fabulous, amazing, whatever, panel discussion with our 3 guest stars around Europe. So welcome also Hilla, Daniel, and Robert. We will get back to you in a bit. Awesome. But first of all, just a couple of words about ourselves. Today here is me, Alex, and Edita. Amanda will come and join us a little bit later on, and sadly Michael had an emergency, so he is not with us here today. But please, you can follow us, and by us I of course mean ACM Teams in Twitter, and you can find more information about us in our website as well. Cool. So I think we are ready to give the stage to Alex.
Okay. So let's see, I have to change the screen here. So here we are. The first part is the adopting team in SMB Customers, and this is my session I already did for the Microsoft Virtual Hub, and so I don't change the slides, but I compromised it a little bit, so it's a little bit shorter for you now. But the question is how to adopt Microsoft Teams and what is the difference between SMB and enterprise customers. What is useful to know about this? So why is it different? Smaller companies up to 50 or 100 employees, this is a real small companies. What you need to know is that they have less software solutions. So first of all, they are not using so many software program tools. They are mainly have maybe Outlook, and they have an ERP system, or maybe also 2 more programs, but they're not used to have so many different programs. So when we adopt a new solution, we need to talk about this, that they are not used to get a new solution so often. So it's a new part for them. Also, these smaller customers don't have so many collaboration solutions. Maybe they have no collaboration solution. So it's the first time when we talk about adopting maybe Teams, this might be a problem because there's no one ever before had something like this, how he could work. So it's totally new for them. Also, these technological development is missing because maybe there is no IT department in this company, where they are too small maybe, or there's just one admin who tries to figure out everything should work, but there is maybe no development. So this might also be a problem in smaller companies. They are not used to these new hot stuff, maybe. And these smaller companies, they also have mainly less pressure to invent. This is also a small problem that smaller companies have. Smaller offices, of course, because it's easier to just go to the next room to speak to the next to the colleague, and this is also a difference to bigger companies, enterprise companies, where you cannot go just to the next room. Of course, now we have COVID-19, so maybe you're all sitting at the home office, so no one can go to the next room. But we are just not talking about the difference for COVID. It's the main difference every time. So many problems were solved by just quick talk to the person. So what I want to show now you is that then comes Teams. So how do these small companies find a way to Teams? And what I acknowledged is that mainly we have the part that the customer, the boss of this company, got influenced by maybe his friends. What the story I always tell is something like, okay, here he's standing on the golf course with his buddy, and that's also a boss, and he's telling the other one, okay, we are using Teams, everything is so great. And so the second boss comes home and talks to his people and say, oh, we need Teams. My buddy told me that Teams is great, so let's do Teams. So on the other side, we maybe have interested employees that are early adopters, so they have a look on Teams, they found something out on the internet and they want to try it, and so they are maybe interested why small companies come to Teams. Or maybe the customers want to use Teams. Yeah, I also recognize sometimes that the customer comes to my customer then and says, "Oh, we want to go and talk and work together in Teams." And my customer then says, "Okay, so what should I do now?" So what is all in common is that only a small group of people sees the advantages of using something like Teams. And so on the first part, the boss, then the interested employee, or maybe the customer. So not the whole company. It's just some people who are seeing these advantages. And we need to talk about this kind of resistance, leaving the comfort zone. Of course, you know this. I think everybody knows this. When you have to leave the comfort zone, do something that you are not used to do. And of course, there's a big difference for all the people. Some people are great using technology. Some even are not used to use technology. So when we come with the new collaboration tools around the corner and also a new application, maybe it's a real problem for them because they have to leave the comfort zone. And just to show this, what this means is that it could also be possible that some people leave not only the comfort zone, they also come to the red zone because they are totally not acknowledging what's happening here, and they don't want to use this solution because maybe the adoption went wrong or whatever, or they just don't want to do this. So this is not a difference from SMB to enterprise customers. I think this is a human nature, what we have to talk about. But what happens now in SMB is a difference, because in bigger companies, you have many, many groups. And in smaller companies, you have less groups. So just think about, maybe you have a company with 50 or 60 or 80 people, and they all come together for lunch, maybe in the canteen. Not, of course, not everybody, but mainly the whole company. And there will be a ringleader, somebody who is influencing the people, that he says, okay, Teams is not a good thing, we don't want this. He has a much easier position to influence the other people than you can do this in an enterprise company, yeah? Because this company is just even smaller. And when this is a person who is good at speaking and maybe, as we say, the informal leader in the company, he has a much impact on this decision. So this is a real big difference from enterprise companies, especially in small companies, that influencers have a much bigger chance to influence all the others. So this is what you have, what you need to know when we talk about resistance in SMB and where it comes from. Okay, so I bring you 5 tips around successful change, and maybe these are not so big different to enterprise companies, but I think this is just one point where you have exactly more look on to find out what you need to do for these smaller companies. And first of all, I think this is in common with enterprise, is start with why. Explain the people, why are we doing this? What is the vision of implementing this solution here? When the boss comes from the golf course and he just says, okay, we now need Teams because my buddy says Teams is great. This will not be a good explanation, okay? You need to explain what means this for our company, for our working, how we could work. Of course, I know COVID changed many things because the people are sitting at the home office right now, so they have no chance of communicating with the colleagues. So the need to change is much higher than before COVID, I know. And maybe many people understand exactly and in this second that they need a new collaboration tool and a new communication tool because they're sitting right now at home. But all these people maybe know that they need to use Teams, for example, for communicating, but Teams is more than communicating. Teams is not a chat tool and Teams is not a video conferencing tool. So this is also still a problem to explain to the people. But start with the why is the most important thing. What's in for me and for the company, you always have to ask this and explain to the people what they can reach, maybe what they have for a better workday life when they use these solutions, these technical solutions, these apps, what we have here in Office 365 and especially in Teams. And what is in for the company? We are a group just explaining to the SMB customers, smaller groups, what the impact is from this solution for our company. This is very important. And build a team. Find people with high reputation, because I think this is really important when we have this part of the ringleader, as I just told you. It's very important to find the people with high reputation, the informal leader, bring them to the champions team, bring them in the team that adopts Microsoft Teams in this company, because when you have these people, also maybe with resistance, you are more next to them. You can have more impact on them. You can talk more to them when they are, on the other hand, they are not in the team. So you always will not only hear from them on the somehow in the room, but you won't talk to them directly. So bring them to the team, in the champions team, in the adopting team, and talk with these people of high reputation. And especially in main processes, this is very important to have them with good communication skills. Because when we talk in smaller companies, we very fast talk about what customer process or the customer journey or whatever this company is doing, how can we produce this in Teams? Because I think in smaller companies, we won't use many communication tools. There might be Teams, and I still start thinking about Jammer. I don't know. Maybe it's too small, the company. I know I'm very on my own with this mind. We always have discussions on LinkedIn about this topic, Jammer and Teams and how to adopt. But I think in smaller companies, maybe Teams is enough to get this collaboration running. And change needs room, so leave room for farewell, listen, and you will be listened to. I think we have to see that these people, maybe, it depends on the branch, but it could be that these people worked for a long time for this company. And when they have to change something, in every case, they need room and time to adopt these new solutions. And right now, I'm talking to my customers, and they come to me and say, okay, we started with a team 3 months ago or 6 months ago when COVID started. Oh, no, it's 9 months ago now. And we want to use it more intensive Teams. And they come and they, come on, start. And I say, no, just give them time. We need time. We need a time plan. You cannot do this in 1 or 2 weeks. Okay, so I think change needs room. And the last one is set milestones and celebrate success. Of course, we in Germany are not used to this so often, so much. We'll see in the panel discussion what the others say, but setting milestones and celebrating when you reach this milestone in adopting a solution, I think this is very important for the people to see that they reached the goal. Okay, how do you do this? We have some of the must-have workshops. First of all, we talk about the BDM workshops, so the business decision makers. These are the people who are in the lead, and they need to know what happens when you adopt teams, for especially teams. They need to know. And then we have, of course, the champions team, the adopting team. That are some people in the company who help me as the consultant to adopt this solution at the company, because as I told before, it's nothing you can do in 2 weeks. You need more time, and they help me. And the third thing is user training. Sorry, the translation missing. User training, and of course we have more workshops, because this is not all. We are also doing use case workshop, use case shopping, where we try to find out how this solution helps the people. We are always coming about the use case, not about the feature from the application. We need the use case. What helps you in your daily work? And we need to identify this. And also we are talking about processes. So maybe it's not only one department, maybe there are 2 or 3 departments and they work together. And it's very important to talk to the people and to analyze how they work and how a solution, whatever solution it is, how it helps them to work together better, and that everybody understands this. Right now we have the big problem that companies adopted Teams 9 months ago, and they have not done a real adoption. They have just rolled it out, and now they get a big mess because they did not talk to the people how they should use Teams. They just told them, okay, here's Teams, start it. And as you know, in Teams, we have the possibility to start new teams, and everybody is doing it as the best as he can. And so suddenly maybe half of the company is working in Teams and the other half is working in Outlook, because they are just used to use Outlook and they don't want to use Teams. So, and then you have a big mess because everybody is working different. And last one is, first of all, the executive enabling is, in smaller companies, you have to see if you need to do this, but maybe the executives need extra trainings. And we have the collaboration workshops where we talk then about something else like Planner and OneNote or so on, solutions, what do you implement after you have adopted Teams. This could also be talking about Surface Hub or Teams Room system. When these companies buy these solutions, maybe the people don't know how to use this. So it's very important to have these collaboration workshops where they can learn how to use all these solutions. Yeah, first of all, the decision maker workshop, the BDM workshop, I just told you it's executives, the managing directors, team leaders. I tell you about 100 employees, there will be maybe 10 people or 15 people in this workshop. In smaller companies, maybe we all put all 20 in this workshop. Or usually we're not doing this under 20 people, but yeah. So, and this is the agenda, just a small view on this. As you can see, we are using the ADGAR model, the ACM ADGAR model, awareness, desire, knowledge, and ability, also in our workshops. So we talk about cultural change and the basic teams, what's the idea of teams, what about email. As we do also a small live demo just for people who have never seen Teams before, and then they should also use it on their own, try a little bit before we come to the important part, the brainstorming, where we try to find use cases for this smaller company, how they can use it. The good thing is that in these smaller companies, we have mainly all the team leads in this one workshop. Now, that's great, because everybody has the same knowledge then when he comes out the workshop. In bigger companies, it's not so easy to get all of them in one workshop. And so this is much easier in smaller companies, and they all have the same knowledge, and so you can proceed much easier. Okay, this results in a mind map. I know you cannot read this, it's no problem, because it's a real mind map. What happens when we are talking about all the solutions that these departments might use, especially Teams for. And I think this is good to know, because in the following workshops for the champions, maybe we use this mind map to remember what the team leads had an idea of how we can use this software solution. And the second workshop is the Champions Workshop. This is, of course, the people who are willing and interested and open for this new solution. We come together here and we help them adapting Teams. We also talk about the basics. We have a Teams live demo, self-testing. And of course, we need to find a main structure. And this starts in finding 5 main teams. This should not be critical process teams, of course, because we are starting to use Teams. This might be different to companies who already adopted Teams or started using Teams. Adopting, I cannot tell you, but they started using Teams. Maybe there's a different. But when we have companies that even have not used Teams before, then you start with 5 main teams, and you can use these 5 main teams for the user workshops, where you find the commitment for these attendees or for the company colleagues, that we start using Teams with 5 main teams. So it's not useful to let them start new teams as they want to. In the first part, I think it's very important to get them to let them use 5 main teams and to find out what this solution might be for good. And when they think it's a good solution to not write any emails anymore and to have a main part where you can work together, then you can change and you get the next step where the people can also do their own teams in Teams. Of course, after all, we have the use case shopping within the department, starting using more Teams in Teams, and we have to talk about the critical processes, as I told before. But this is what we're doing after everybody is used to work with Teams. So last part here now is, I see there are many comments in private chats. I will have a look on it. Okay, nothing bad in there, and the comments we'll see. I will show them later. I'm sorry. What I want to show you more is the marketing part. It's just a short thing. What I really love is that we have internal marketing. So something like T-shirts, stickers, whatever swag stuff. Carolina, you know what I mean. Swag stuff is so great, and so we are using this also for our customers. Here's a little tip, because when you've tried to find the swag store for Microsoft Teams, you won't find it, I think. It's really hard to find it. So this is the swag store site for Microsoft Teams. You can buy this stuff in America, and when you send them an UPS label, they will send it also to Europe. It's swagsite.mybrightsites.com. You get Teams socks there. That's really cool. Okay, also some email templates, of course, and posters and stickers and everything all around marketing. So, conclusion for the end. Hold in mind my 5 tips for successful change. You can have a look on the virtual hub from Microsoft. There's also this solution, this presentation. Find the right people for the process. This is very important. The Teams champions, find the people who are informal leaders, influencers that help you adopt this solution in the smaller companies, and structure this change process more compact. Of course, maybe this smaller company has not the money to implement 30 consultant days or whatever. You have to compromise it a little bit. So it's also useful for the people to get this solution running, and that you help them. So this was my first part. I have a look at the watch. So it's almost half an hour, so it's I think it's in time. When you have any questions, follow me on LinkedIn or have a look at my YouTube channel. We're also doing some English stuff there. And this was it, I think. Yes, this was it. So I get back my colleagues here. Let's see. Hi. Oh, Amanda is there. Hi, Amanda. Oh, great. You're all looking so nice.
Hello. Thank you
Hi.
for the presentation, Alex.
Great. I will have a look at the comments. I'm sorry, I cannot use the comments during I'm talking. So let's see. We have Brussels there. We have Vienna there. Hello from Germany. Hello. I don't know where from. Okay. Co-editor. Oh, we have Canada. Greetings. Hi, Tammy. Great to have you here. Adam is. I'm sorry. I should have better done this before. Henry is always there. Thank you, Henry. Hi to you. You're from Las Vegas, aren't you? Or Los Angeles, I think. Okay, great. So many people here. That's really cool. So we have any questions on this? Have you had a look, Edita? Edita?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we have more comments than questions.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so there was a great question from Adam about education. Education is a bigger challenge in bigger companies. The ways to do it will often, yeah. So right now.
Bigger companies, the ways to do it will often vary as well. Having reach throughout the organization is more important here to catch all needs. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. Education is a bigger challenge. Okay. So any other things I should show?
I
Swag
took some notes. Yes, thanks. I took some notes from some of the comments. So maybe we can start with our panel and then maybe raise some of the comments in during the panel discussion.
Okay, great. So let's start with a panel discussion. Welcome our guest. Oh, it's getting full here. Hi.
Hello.
Awesome. Great. So we are having a super guest stars from all around Europe in our panel discussion. And we have prepared some questions, but of course, if you want to ask something specific or comment, so just use the chat and we can raise those questions to our show as well. But first of all, we could go through a short introductions from our panelists. So I would like to know from Robert, Daniel, and Hilla. So where are you from? And what's your superpower? Maybe in the Microsoft world or maybe in the whole world. And if you have any like Christmas stuff around here, you can show it to us. But Robert, can you please go first?
Sure thing. Yeah. Welcome everybody, and thank you for having me here on stage. Just thank you for the organizers here. Yeah, I'm Rob. I'm also MVP. So for the Office Apps and Services community, and yeah, also having a little small business myself, where I'm helping these specific small companies, because usually for big service providers they say, "Oh, yours too small for us, not a big deal," but we should not leave them alone. So therefore, I'm here to also help those small companies with Microsoft Teams and adoption. And great question with the superpower. This is a tough one. So Teams in general, but my superpower is maybe using the GIFs, because these GIFs were really this feature which also convinced me from using Teams. So therefore, I'm using them quite often. So GIFs and emojis, and this is maybe then my superpower.
Awesome. Thank you, Robert. And you have your fancy Christmas hat as well. Okay, so Hilla, can you go next?
Yeah, sure. I'm Hilla Mäntiomena from Finland. my last name translates to pineapple. That's why I have the pineapple emoji after my name. Actually, my first name translates to cloudberry, so it's cloudberry pineapple. I've been working with Office 365 for several years now with Teams and with basically everything. I'm jack of all trades when it comes to Office 365. I've done training, but also like administrating, like everything possible. And I'm currently working as a Power Platform advisor at Forward Forever. And we are 100% focused on Power Platform, but I'm still doing things with Teams. For example, I'm organizing Teams Finland user group with Carolina here. So I have not abandoned Teams, even though I now work fully with Power Platform. It's still one of my passions. And my superpower is troubleshooting things.
Awesome. And I think it's the same with because Teams and SharePoint are better together, so Teams and Power Platform are also better
Even
together.
better. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you, Hilla. And then we have Daniel.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Well, Daniel Koven, I'm from Norway, but I spent so many years now in Sweden and just moved back. So I run Team Sweden. It's a web page where I put out articles and have a community to basically spread the interest and knowledge about Teams. And I work as a senior consultant with a basic superpower of finding a new way to inspire those who don't like tech. My goal is always to take the non-techies and put them into this world, because it doesn't matter really how little you feel you know about computers. You usually use Facebook and other social media privately, and Teams is just as simple, or in many cases even simpler to use, as soon as you get some little input on how to do it.
Awesome, yeah. Thank you. So great to have all of you here. And let's start with our first question of tonight. So I will ask a question, and then you can answer one by one, and then we can comment on, of course, on each other's answers, etc. But the first question is that what do you see that are the main differences between adoption and change management in maybe larger enterprises and in smaller companies? And has there been something maybe surprising in the differences? So Hilla, can you please go first?
The one thing that mostly surprised me is that you would imagine that when you have a small company, it's really easy. Like you have 20 people and you can train them and they will all get very excited about Teams, and it's done with few trainings. But with smaller companies, it's hard for them. Like it's hard for someone to take the responsibility for Teams. Like there is no owner for the thing, and there is no one who is dedicated for Teams who wants to stay up to date and train the others. They are more reluctant to take the responsibility. And in bigger companies, they may have like a full dedicated person. Like in my previous workplace, I was Captain Microsoft. Like I owned everything, and it was my job to stay up to date and inform others about all the new cool features and give training and help whenever needed. But smaller companies, they just don't have the resources for this kind of activity.
Yeah, very good points in there. What about Robert?
In my opinion, there are different facts which are important. I wouldn't say this is the most or this is the most important thing. What I became aware of, which is a very big difference, is the visibility of the management. So in the general, the management must be on board in change management projects, because when the management says, okay, we now do it differently, but the management still does the old patterns, then all the employee, in worst case, will just follow the management, so the old patterns. And in bigger companies, you have more employees, more groups that they work already with teams. So therefore, the visibility of the top management, even if they are appointment, it's not that high. But in small companies, everybody sees the managers. And therefore, they really have to be these role models and go ahead and really use Teams as they have used it from the very beginning on. And this is for me a very big difference so the adoption compared from large to smaller companies.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. And I think if you also have read the ProSci change management things, they also very much rely on the managers, that you have to train managers to do the change, and you have to make sure that the managers are on board.
And that is
So
also
what about
the difficulty, like in smaller company when there's sometimes only like few managers, maybe one. If that one manager is not using Teams, no one else will. So it's really, really important to be the role model for Teams. And if you don't have that person, it all goes downhill very, very fast.
I really love the image that Alex had in his presentation with the black sheep, because in smaller companies, the black sheep can have a huge effect on all others.
Exactly.
Awesome. What about Daniel?
Well, they have basically answered some of the most important aspects. But what I didn't expect when working with smaller companies was the similarity. It was more like, and also when I've been discussing this with people working with much larger organizations than I have, it's so similar, the challenges they see. But it's basically, as Robert said, it's the leader of that section of the company. In a smaller company, then you have the leaders. It's the closest one. So you need to have change happening from top down. In larger companies, the top down doesn't have to be the very top, but the top from the end user perspective. But the differences, what I see in smaller companies is that they are two groups of companies. One is the ones that like top-down management. They want to have micromanagement. They have full control from central perspective. And Teams can be a bit scary since it splits up everything in smaller groups. And when you have the other type of companies that focus on the smaller groups and give them the resources, then they forget the big picture, and suddenly it's chaos because everyone does whatever they please and no one has any idea where are we going, what is the direction. So the balance is the biggest challenge I've seen in smaller companies.
Yeah, awesome. Do you have any comments on that, Robert or Hilla?
I would just say one thing to that, or would just want to add something in regards to how many people we have there, and therefore we have this middle management. I would also say that, my personal opinion, it's harder to reach the tipping point in small companies, because many of them maybe just got used to emails and they just use it. And when there's something happening in the same time in Teams, these email guys, they're still comfortable with email. And so therefore you separate them. But in a larger company, in my opinion, even if you have 20% usage of Teams, everybody hears then anyhow about, oh, people are using Teams. Maybe I'm missing there something. And therefore, in my opinion, you really need to reach 50% in smaller companies to hit the tipping point compared to larger companies.
Yeah, cool. And we have talked about the role of the managers, but what about role of the champions? So do we need champions in the same way we need them in larger companies?
Definitely. So should I just talk?
Yes,
So please interrupt me. So in my company where I did this, I clearly said to the management, we need these champions. Otherwise, it will be just you managers alone, and this is to support you as well. And what I found out that these champions, even if kind of recruited from the top managers, because they said, take this, him, her, and her. I assumed that, okay, they know how teams work and I can now take them on board. But the knowledge were still very different. So therefore, for these champions, super, super important. Even for small companies, you need them, but make even more clear that they're on the same page in regards to the same skill set so that they can really transform and share the knowledge to the rest of the people.
Excellent. What about Hilla?
I was also thinking like, yes, you definitely need champions, but if it depends on the company, like if it's a very non-tech savvy company, it might be really difficult to find even one champion who is like comfortable using Teams and helping others and telling everyone else to use Teams if they're not feeling very confident. So
Did you have the same experience, Daniel?
Well, yeah, the champions are core, but it's so dependent on the company as a whole. Like tech companies, easier to find champions and those who want to like invest. But a big part of the customers I've been working with is also basic non-techies. It's just the admins, the administrator group that works with a computer every day. Most of the others have a mobile phone. So from their perspective, they're more focused on doing the real job than on like whatever the tools they get. So they should just work. So it's really in smaller companies you have to focus more on the individual needs of the people in the company and the groups, but also focusing on giving them a core knowledge so everyone understands why, and give them a fast intro, for instance, for using mobile phones. Because as long as they can get basic info in their phone and can ask questions in their phone without any resistance, then it's easier for them to start the adaptation process. But of course, it will take longer for those who haven't a computer as an everyday work tool.
Yeah, I really love the why question, because I think pretty much all the Teams adoption should be about real life use cases. So why should I use Teams instead of email, or why should I use Power Apps instead of my paper and pen or whatever? So do you think that the resistance to change is larger in general in smaller companies than in bigger companies? Daniel can continue.
Yeah, I can continue. No, I don't think so. It's very individual based, but you will notice it more clearly in a small company. And that is it's something I learned a few years ago. They called change fatigue, when they changed the system so often, and they recently moved to Office and started mailing in Outlook from whatever they had before, and suddenly now it's Teams, and it's just another change. And you will notice that in a company, the smaller company, because that means the whole company will feel it. In a larger company, it's just a group, and you can easily just let them wait for a while we focus on someone else. So I think it's more of, in a small company, it will either work or it won't. It's a bigger impact in that way.
Yeah,
I also think that
Yes.
it depends on the company culture. Like people are very, very good at adopting new software. Like we install new mobile apps all the time, and we don't have anyone teaching us how to use them. We just push buttons and everything works. But I feel that when you go to your workplace, there might be this attitude that we don't have time, like you need to do your job and not learn how to use a new software. And I feel like if the company has like a culture of learning and adopting new things, like adopting Teams is also easier. But if it's very focused on being productive and making the work done and not learning, it's a whole nother story. I think when it comes to my experience, the biggest problem is that we don't have time to learn.
That's right.
Awesome point. Yeah. What about Robert?
Just want to mention, because this reminds me to what Alex said in his slide, that these black sheeps are also more visible in smaller companies. So therefore, if there are a few people who are more resistant to change, other people can more clear see this, that, oh, maybe not everybody's on the same page. Should I really now follow this new working pattern or not? So this is a very big point that you need to address. And I would even say, don't trust the management. I know this sounds very hard, but what I found out in regards to the specific processes that you said, Daniel, and that in smaller companies, they have their specific ways of working. Sometimes even with smaller companies, the management does not know how the day-to-day work of the other employees looks like. So when they say everybody got used to Teams, they know how to use it and so on. But then with the champions, I found out, not at all. So email is this set communication message, and nobody said we want to switch to Teams now, and so on. So, and there are some really resistant guys who don't want to change, and this came out with the champions. So therefore, this is an additional important point why the champions are so important.
Awesome. Okay, during Alex's presentation, we also got one comment. I will read it on here. So it's about money, of course. So the price of investing on technology and on the development of solutions is more likely to, yeah, thank you, Alex. Thank you for the comment. Is more likely for a small company to be just too high. So what about in your experiences? Do you think that the budget can be an issue when it comes to Teams adoption or adopting new things in the company in general? What about you, Robert? You go first.
Very, very good point, and a very, very big one, because yeah, this is very crucial. So I know a couple of small companies who just use Office 365 business plans, so the very small ones, which was also new to me. I was just got used to E-plans, and we were just thinking about E3 or E5. And now you come back to business. Really, every cent makes a difference, and especially when you talk about additional third-party tools or adding governance stuff from Microsoft, so the native stuff, but even there, just €2 per user per month is a big topic then, simply. And therefore, this influence then maybe some useful tools you would like to use to drive the change, to drive the adoption, but simply can't be used because there's no money.
Yeah. Hill, I know you are working lots with Power Apps. So does the Power Apps licensing costs are they are an issue with smaller companies?
It's an issue, and if you do something with a smaller company, you need to build solutions that work with this very standard licenses, like nothing extra, like using SharePoint as a database and like nothing fancy, like work around every possible cost, because like Robert said, like every cent is crucial.
Yeah, I can think about that, because already, as Robert said, only the basic Office 365 licenses, or sorry, Microsoft 365 licenses can cost a lot to the company, and then if we had to add all those Power Platform licenses, it can be a huge budget for them. What about Daniel? What are your thoughts on the budget issue?
It's that is a large challenge in many aspects, but it's about prioritizing. When I'm out with companies, usually I always go out when they have decided to go to Microsoft 365 already. So it's never for me selling in the license in itself. It's about utilizing the tools that you already purchased. But then you need to make them pay for education, coaching, guiding, and those aspects. And I don't find it that difficult for small companies to really want to invest as soon as they can see the benefit. With smaller companies, it's always about they need to see that this will either improve productivity, it will ease on the general workflow, and even cut costs in the long run. If you just can give them the perspective that this is possible, I can find it easier for the smaller companies to want to invest, because even if they are smaller with smaller budgets, it's a shorter line of decision from management. Like for a large company, if they want to include education for 1,000 people, that's a lot of money. that's a budget for like next year, no, the year after maybe, and then it's too late. But in a smaller company, they can do that risky, okay, we will focus on it this year, we'll just take it from some other budget part and we'll fix it. And I find it actually easier from that perspective to get smaller companies to adapt change.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. I
Now
still
we
have
have
one.
Dataverse
Yeah.
for Teams, so that helps. Yeah, I had to say Dataverse here.
One good argument is also quite often, so okay, what does it cost to buy this now? Or what does it cost to don't do it? So what other costs would result if we are not using this?
Yeah.
I've done some calculations on it for customers, and it usually shows that the package of Microsoft 365 can cut licensing costs for 100,000 a year, just like Dropbox licenses you don't need anymore, and other just like semi-tools, form tools that they don't need. And if you just calculate away all those costs, suddenly you earn money by going all Microsoft on the basic tools.
Yeah, I think it's a good point to like really calculate all those costs and make them very visible, and maybe they can even save money by investing money in Teams licenses. Awesome. We are getting to the end of our session today. I still have one question for you, but first of all, I would like to ask if any of our guests had any questions in the comments, or does Amanda, Alex, or Edita have any questions at this point? And Alex, you're on mute.
Of course. No questions in the comments, and I think everybody is listening to the experts here in this session. This was really great. So I don't think I have no other question. Maybe Edita, I don't know. I give it a show here. We can all come together. Also, Michael is here. Hi, Michael.
Hi, Michael.
Hi.
Hello.
Great discussion. I have a question about the communication, because we know that the communication plan is crucial, and having different communication methods to communicate this change. So do you have any feeling that there is something different in terms of communication for small, medium business? Or it's rather the same?
I'm in the middle. Let me start. So
Yeah. Yay.
feel free to blame me in the end, so that I was too often speaking. So one big difference for me is that in bigger companies, you usually communicate in phases, or in waves, because you identify specific people not only for the pilot, but really for wave one, who will then get teams and use it and so on, to then also additionally learn new things which you haven't identified in the pilot program, for example, and then communicate to phase 2, phase 3. And usually I heard about 4 waves is a traditional way to reach everybody. But in small companies with just 50 people, almost a pilot is in some companies way larger. So therefore, usually in small companies, you communicate to all of them.
Awesome. What about Daniel?
Yeah, I was thinking of it. There's so many aspects when it comes to communication, and I feel that the internet has lost its charm over the years. I always hated the internet, but using a modern experience with hub sites and giving every department their own communication page and hub them together will give a better way for everyone to get their voices heard with news and like long-term info, and then have a bigger team with good channel plans to have the day-to-day talk and tips and tricks, and just encouraging. I feel that is easier in smaller companies to get this changed quick, implemented and used. But I'm working with a new system or new project now, so I will see if my theory is as good as my early testing has been in the long run.
Maybe we can come back together and discuss after your project, because I'm having the same project right now, something like this.
Oh,
in
cool.
a smaller company.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I love to.
Cool. Hilla, do you have any comments on communication before we jump into our last question?
In my experience in small companies, like everybody knows the go-to person, and it's very one-to-one. But in bigger companies, it's more like you post something in a channel and someone answers the issue. That's my experience.
And I think it's a very good point that you need to know someone from the company who knows maybe someone on or who can tell you the stuff. So the personal relationships inside smaller companies are very important. Awesome. So
One thing, if I may add one thing.
You can go.
Because what happened right now in the Christmas time was great. So use kind of external influences to create awareness. So in this case, why I'm mentioning this was for Christmas, I think everybody of you have at least seen one advent calendar, Christmas calendar, where you can open a door every day and something like this. And we also did this internally in this little company, so that every day we shared a tip how to effectively use Microsoft Teams, so really kind of tailored for their specific needs. And then we found out we really got awareness. Oh, Teams, oh yeah, I didn't know this. And we communicated all this before. But the calendar was a thing that really created traction and really created this awareness. So maybe there's Olympic Games next year, or there's some soccer games or something like this. Maybe take some of these external factors to create also awareness for your change management project.
Awesome. I love the advent calendar idea. Okay, so we have just one quick question for you all, because we have asked this from all of our panelists in our show. So what's your number one tip about adoption and change management with Teams, especially for the small companies? Daniel first.
Well, so many tips. Lead by example and focus on knowledge and understanding, basically. No matter if you are the little guy on the floor or the top management, lead by example, live as you learn, and just go on. You can do it. It's simple. As soon as you just get over the first little hurdle, it's fun as well.
Awesome. Hill.
I think Daniel stole my tip.
Sorry.
That's the whole lead by example, like in small companies, that is the crucial thing.
Awesome. And what about Robert?
Lead by example brings me to a lead by use case. So grab that simple and easy use case, how they work at the moment, and then transform this into Teams, so that they can see, hey, this is way easier than before. Let's go for it.
Awesome. Super many thanks for all of our crew, of course, in here, and especially for all of our panelists in here. That includes all of our session today. And Alex, can you show us the details for our first session of next year?
Yeah, I will show you. First of all, maybe we say goodbye to our guest, I think. Is it okay? So
yeah.
I'm so eager.
I have no screen space left here. We have so many. So goodbye. Thank you very much that you attended our show, and maybe we'll see you again next year. Goodbye, and thank you very much.
Goodbye.
Thanks a lot. Goodbye.
So I need space here to show this screen. This is, I think you need, first of all, this, correct?
Oh, yes, of course, because we love feedback. And please, you can give us feedback via this QR code or this link. Or, of course, you can chat with us in Twitter. Okay. But this is for this year's session 2020, but of course we will come back next year. And hopefully we will see all of you again in the third Tuesday of January. And the time is familiar at 4 p.m. It's not CEST, it's CET. But anyway, at 4. And actually our team is all about champions. So we are discussing about the best ways to motivate champions in your organization and how to keep your champions engaged and active. And if you want to be maybe a panelist about this topic, please give us a message. So maybe you can also be on stage next year. Thank you.
Great. So it's time to say goodbye.
And Merry
First this
Christmas. And happy holidays.
Merry Christmas.
Happy
Yeah, Merry
holidays.
Christmas. Happy holidays.
Let's see next year. Goodbye to all.
Bye-bye.
Bye.